Hi, welcome to another edition of our Creative Careers episodes, where we talk with somebody who has an arts-related career. And today we are really excited to talk with Allie Dillard, who was a dresser for a Broadway tour. Was that what this was?
Actually, the Broadway company.
Oh, the
Working on
Broadway
New York.
company.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The-
And which show is this?
This is Come From Away, which
Awesome.
is
So first of all, for anybody who might not know, what does a dresser do?
dressers are kind of like the dictionary definition of what we do is we maintain the costume designer's vision throughout the run of the production. So the show and audience sees on opening night, the costumes look exactly the same as they will on closing night. Whether that is like a Urinetown where the clothes need to look kind of grimy, so we have to make sure that they don't get too clean as we wash them and take care of them throughout the show. Or if it's something super fancy like a Hello Dolly or a period show where it's very ornate and beautiful. I know like Aladdin on Broadway, they have lots of beading, and so they have to go through the wardrobe, and the dressers have to go through and make sure that all those costumes look just the same for audiences on the first night as they do on the last.
Awesome. And so for something like Come From Away, for anybody who doesn't know the show or isn't familiar with it, what kinds of work did that involve specifically for that?
For this show, Come From Away is kind of the quick definition of the show is it's a 100-minute show, no intermission. It is about a small town in Canada called Gander, where on the events surrounding September 11th, a lot of planes that were flying over the Atlantic Ocean couldn't arrive in American airspace, but they didn't have enough fuel to turn around and go back to their destination, so they needed to land somewhere in North America. Gander is a small town in Newfoundland that has a very large airport. It used to be the last refueling stop before planes would go back to fly across the Atlantic. And they open up their airport and welcome people in. And so as far as the cost, it's a beautiful show, great stuff. Definitely look it up on YouTube. But the show we like to call it quasi period. It's lots of jeans and t-shirts. It's a very simple show as far as costuming goes, but it's period as in it's from 2001. So the cuts of the jeans have to be a very particular, the skinny jeans weren't very popular in 2001. They were a lot more flares. The shoes, different things, shirts. It's like if something is super fashionable now, wouldn't be an option then. So that's kind of the sort of path on it. And the show itself, for the way the show itself works, is there's a lot of costume pieces. The actors each play multiple roles, and they use costume pieces to help differentiate who those are. So for a different thing, they might wear a different sweater or a different hat. And so we have to make sure those pieces are where they need to be when they need to be there for the show to happen.
Awesome. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about your personal journey, when you got interested, what path led you here, and when did you really find out that this was a career or a gig that you could have?
Absolutely. My parents actually met doing community theater, so we always ended up going and seeing a lot of stuff growing up. And I always was fascinated with this making of like special features on DVDs way more than the movie itself. So that kind of has always been kind of drawn to the backstage kind of stuff. But I did some theater in high school a little bit, but wardrobe wasn't ever really a thing. It was just kind of like costumes or whatever. It's like, oh, the back, you do whatever needs to happen. And then I actually went to college, and I wasn't a theater major. I was anthropology because I thought you couldn't make money doing theater. It wasn't real, not jobs. But I ended up taking one particular class for a general education credit, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. And they were like, you can do this. So I switched majors. And then I went away to a summer stock but my college program wasn't super big. And they didn't really have a wardrobe. They had a little bit, but not really. And so I went away and did a summer stock with kind of like a bigger theater over the summer. They had a wardrobe department. I saw that person doing their job, and I was like, that looks fantastic. I would like to do that. Came back to school, let them know I had a great teacher who helped me out, kind of tailored a curriculum for what I wanted to do, and graduated in December of 2008, and have been lucky enough to be working professionally doing it ever since.
That's awesome. So maybe for students who maybe have done some theater but not in a capacity where it's large enough or has a wardrobe department, what specifically makes dressing really unique among other theater careers, especially any like general costume work?
Absolutely. I think the big thing that separates dressers from general costuming and also from other backstage careers is our interactions with actors. We are single-handedly the biggest backstage people that work with actors. Like, I'll get directors and stage managers asking me questions about how actors feel because I know better, because I spend more time with them. And so that's kind of a huge thing. And it's one of the things that really drew me to it. I have a huge amount of respect for performers. It's something I could never ever do. So, and I think they're fat. I think they're hilarious. I think they're funny. I like hanging out with them. I think it's cool. And I really like helping people. I like to help people be able, like, I'm like trying to think the best way to say it. I've never really wanted, like, I get too scared being out in front, but I get a huge amount of personal fulfillment seeing other people be able to get applause and do that. And I'm like, okay, I helped them do that. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, no, that's one of the coolest things about theater for me is how many different parts there can be, and seeing that final product, you know, you had a part in that. When you first started doing, when you switched from anthropology to this, what were some of the skills that you had to improve to really to step up, especially actually, let me say, when you went into professional work with this, what were some of the skills that you really had to get good at to be able to make that transition?
I think the easiest definition is it is super helpful to know how to sew. Sewing is, you don't have to be the best at it. You don't have to be able to build an entire garment from scratch. I sure can't. But knowing how things go together and kind of like, I can't do this, but I understand why it's done this way. Or knowing how to, a lot of times it's sewing as in repairs. So if a pair of pants rips, you can fix it. You don't have to build the pants, but you need to know how to put the pants back together. Sewing on buttons, snaps, lots of buttons and snaps. Being able to do repairs and do the repairs pretty fast. That I think would be the biggest kind of technical skill that's needed for dressing. And then also being just kind of general skills, being very flexible, it's definitely a great job for problem solvers, for trying to people who can see, like, in people who can look ahead of, see where problems might be lying. So it's like, okay, this is great right now, but I see this thing and this thing and this thing that might make this not work. Especially when you're like setting up a quick change, you need to know, okay, what's first, second, third to make this happen in the amount of time that we have to do it. And then also probably single-handedly, just being a nice person is in general a great skill across the board in pretty much anything you can do. As long as you're nice, it will get you very, very far.
I have to ask, have there been any near misses in any of your professional work that you managed to swoop in and save the day for this?
Oh, I've been responsible for a few full misses, like not even near, it didn't happen. Which it's part of the nature. It's live theater. Mistakes happen, but it's also important to be able to kind of pick yourself up and keep going. The show is still running. I've never had a mistake happen that stopped the show. So I can say, knock on wood, that's good. But I've definitely brain farted and something didn't go right, or a zipper broke, or extenuating circumstances. People are human, and it's kind of what makes theater magic. And so when these things happen, as part of the thing about being a fast problem solver, it's good to be able to do that. I definitely know a few weeks ago we had an actor who has a very fast change out of a coat. It's a super simple change. He's just unzipping a coat, turning around, I'm there to catch it, pull it off. Fortunately, the zipper got stuck, and it got stuck really high. Like, normally, before, when this has happened in this particular, it's only happened, we've been running the show for 3 years. We've only had issues on this change less than 5 times. So over 1,000 times we've done this show, less than 5 times this has happened. So it's really not a big deal. But it got stuck. So normally if it gets stuck low, I could kind of help him pull it over and he could step out of it. This time I got stuck really high, and the timing of the show, he had to go back out there, and like, he felt bad and I felt bad, but then it was also like, the show's still going on. He's up there talking, and those 1,000 people in the audience, they don't know he's not supposed to be wearing that coat. And he got it off during the scene, and it came off, and we talked about it, And we talked to the stage manager, and I was like, freak accident. And they're like, okay.
Awesome. As we close things out today, I would love to, for any students who are out there who are interested in this, just maybe learning for the first time that this is a thing that people can devote their lives to, what would be something small that they can do in their homes this week to build at least one of these skills?
I think if you have the resources at home, if you have a needle and thread and you have some buttons, if you've got some dress shirts that people in your family wouldn't mind some mending on, a couple missing buttons, or the pair of jeans that got a rip in them that you might want to fix, even if it doesn't look pretty, just kind of start thinking about how if a piece of clothing is damaged, how you can make it not damaged anymore. And then also in general, just there's lots of resources on the internet, as far as I know there's some really great quick change YouTube videos. I know there's a great one with Kelly O'Hara at the Tony Awards, and it's a great thing to kind of watch and see how you can break down changes and see how it's all choreographed and teamed out. And I mean, I won't lie, if I had practiced some imaginary quick changes at my home in my day.
Awesome.
That was fun.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us today, Allie, and for sharing your expertise in this aspect. Yes, fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes. And thank you so much, listeners and viewers. And don't forget to tune in again at 1 p.m. tomorrow for more Let's Be Creative arts content. Thank you.